Good morning. Excuse me, right away. I'm coughing. Can't believe this. I'm Norma Cowie. Welcome to my YouTube channel and a Sunday thought. This week I had a very interesting question put to me. And the person asked, why are people afraid of dying? And this is because there's so much fear out there right now about getting sick and dying. Now, in my life, I asked that very same question when I was quite young. So I set out to understand a lot more about the death and dying process. I set out a little more about what life is. And it comes down to a number of things, I think. Basically, it comes down to what do you believe? Now, because a lot of people don't have a spiritual background anymore, at least that's what I find. I find the younger people in particular, when they come in to see me, I have to use the word philosophy. They understand that, but they don't understand the spiritual growth or the spiritual path, which I have walked most of my life. So you could ask yourself this: what do I believe? Do I believe in life after death? Do I understand anything about the death process? And what is my spiritual or basic philosophy, spiritual understanding of death? I think to understand death, in some ways, we need to understand life, to understand that we are born little, but we're not just our physical bodies, we are our soul. Now, from the spiritual application of things, when we start to go into personal and spiritual growth, we go inside. We go inside to clear, adjust, change blocks we have. Now, I took a path very early in my life because I began to do past life regressions. And when I first did past life regressions, I didn't really believe in them, but I was at a workshop and I did the process and I could do the process very well. But at that time, nobody really took you into the death process. But as the years went by, I began to realize with myself, because I used to do a lot of my own work, that I needed to understand the death process, because I realized the blocked emotions, whether they be guilt or regret or anger, frustration, hatred, etc., needed to be cleared from the life that I had previously, or I'll use that in that sense when we talk about past lives for now, because really all time is one, and I've come to understand as other lives, but most people have a difficulty understanding that concept, which I don't want to get into today. So we're going to say we'll take a look at that. And I began to realize several things. Now, I want to talk about something else just for a moment. When my father-in-law was dying of cancer, and I was still really very young, with two little kids, and I was going to the hospital to see him. We were allowed to do that then. And I noticed, now I didn't realize how psychic I actually was. I noticed that there was this lady, a redheaded lady in the room. And when I went home and back to my house, I talked to my mother-in-law and asked her, well, who was the redheaded lady? She said, well, his mom had red hair. And that's the first inkling I had that people came for you. I raised my children believing if they ever thought they were dead to look for a light, because I knew on every level of the vibrations as we know them, that there are always people that walk, it's like the hermit card in the tarot, with a lantern or a light. If you're feeling lost, go to the light. And my kids pretty well could say that from almost when they could talk. Now, why do we say go to the light? Because that is significant of the love and the essence. And we're born with guides. We are born with people who will help us. We are born with lots of aids and helps that we have. Now, today, there are a number of movies out there that explain what can happen. Many people have had near-death experiences and talk about them. And if you haven't heard them, you may want to see some of the movies that talk about this, based on real-life experiences where people have died. I'm just going to lean out of several, but there's quite a few that I have watched that I've really, really enjoyed. Miracles in Heaven. The Shack is slightly different, but it's certainly one to watch. The Healer, There's many different movies now. These are often are Christian based, but at least they get the information out and they show people when they have gone to the other side. I've often been said, not quite your time yet, go back. I had a personal experience last April. I was really ill. I was having high fevers. I was reviewing my life, and I began to think, oh my goodness, this is often what you'll do after you've left your body. Now, what am I doing this now for? And I had the thought, and I have spoken on this before on my Wednesday talk, is that I thought, am I dying? And then my conscious brain kicked in and said, there's nobody here. There's nobody here. You don't have your mother, your daughter, you don't have anybody that's gone on before. Because usually someone comes for you, whether it be somebody that you know, or a guide, or somebody that cares, just to give you that support as you're moving through. Now, it's interesting. When we're born, we have to push our way into this world. And we really are in lots of ways alone doing that. I remember giving birth to my daughter, who's my first child, and thinking, I have to grow up. I have to do this myself. No one else can do this. And I think a lot of women feel that when they first begin to realize, hey, no one's going to do this for me. No one's going to come along and help here. I have to do this. And it's like death. But death is a natural process. I had a granddaughter die at just over 2 years old, and it's really sad. I had a daughter die who was when she was, I can't remember her age now, 55 or 56. I've had my mother, my father, my sisters, my nephews. I've had lots of people pass over. I'm not myself a medium where I go and talk to the dead in the sense, but I can tune into people's vibrations. So I can see and know what's going on. Death is a natural process, but you need to understand the soul. It is the soul that is on the journey. This is a vehicle that we inhabit for a short while. Most of us don't even live to be 100 years old. We may live a little time, like my granddaughter. We may live a long time. Most of my family, my aunts, my uncles, my parents last into their mid-80s. And I kind of feel, well, that's probably approximately age. But some of them have died earlier like nephews. I've got 3 nephews pass over. I've had other things happen, all different ages, different times. But the key to realize, excuse me, is in that process of leaving this physical body. I was almost going to equate it to a car. You get to have a car and you love the car, but sometimes the car wears out, right? And what do? You trade it in for a new one. Well, the soul, in a way, is the same. It inhabits the body. And when the learning or when the body runs out or whatever, you trade it in for a new one. But in the meantime, what do we do with an older car? We put it in a parking lot. Except our parking lot, the soul goes on and is aware of many things. It becomes aware. It goes into a different school, so to speak. And I have seen those schools, and I have been in those schools. I have been around, and in my dream time, actually, I was taught a lot in my sleep. And so consequently, I have an understanding of the journey, but it's always still a little unsure because it's a journey that you don't have conscious memory of taking in the now. But it is something, it stands that you could learn about, that you could come to understand, that's what it is. It is a journey, and there are people there who love you and care about you and that want to help you in that transition of leaving this body, this vehicle that we've been in since we were born, into the other side of things where you have a choice, many choices. I was lucky to be able to speak with both my parents after they were gone to the other side. One chose to have fun. One chose to go to school right away and learn because she realized, that's my mom, she realized there was a lot of things she didn't know. So ask yourself those questions. What is your belief? Do you feel a great fear at the thought of leaving this body that we're in? The key is to live our life as fully as we possibly can. And know that we will rejoice when we leave it, because it just means there is at some point either another experience waiting for us when we choose to do it. In the meantime, you have a great week, and I send many blessings.